All right. Good morning. I got to lower my volume a little bit. Good morning, good afternoon, 8, 9, 10. It's about 11:30, something like that, Eastern time. And wanted to just take some time. We are on, day 9 of code panel meetings. They're closing up shop pretty doggone quickly. I believe, excuse me, I believe my throat is not clear, but I'm looking for, I wound these puppies up and I needed one. So let's take a look at what's going on in this week. Panel 9, I believe panel 9 is done. I hear that panel 9 is done. There's only 5. Panel 5 and 13, I think, are the only 2 code panels meeting right now. So that means 7 is done too. So panel 7, which covers marinas, it has completed their work. And I need to plug this in. So panel 7 is done and completed their work. Let's take a look at what has occurred in 555. That's of interest to me. We have, unfortunately, we have a lot of people who pass away in marinas. So we made some changes in marinas. So let's take a look at 70 next. So you go to www. Why isn't that working? There it is. You go to www.nfpa.org/70next, and you'll get this screen. You go down to the next edition, and you can click on the first draft report. I can click on view public comments online. Now remember, everything we're talking about, everything, is water. It is all fluid. It can change on a dime. They can reopen things and all that jazz. So, but in any case, it's great to just see what is happening. I'm going to go straight to 555 on marinas, and I want to see what kind of first revisions they've created. So the first change is in, okay, so I don't know that it's a change. You all know that 555, you all know the style manual changed, that now we are requiring the listing requirements are supposed to now be in .2s, all of the .2s. The listing requirements are going to be in .2. Wondering why I'm not showing up on. All right, there I am. So listing requirements are going to be all in .2, and reconditioning. I had to think about that one. Reconditioning is in .3, so that's important to note. There are other. I just want to make sure I'm streaming to my YouTube account. I'm not seeing that I am. I'm not. Sure why. Yes, I am. All right, there I am. Day 9. All right, so listing requirements in .2, reconditioning is in .3. And what they did, it looks like they have a second revision moving, or they have all electrical equipment installed in areas comprising of piers, wharves, docks, floating buildings, marinas, boatyards, boat basins, boathouses, yacht clubs, and all that jazz are all required to be listed. And it doesn't say, it says added listing language in accordance with 221 of the NEC style manual. The .2 section of Article 555 will address equipment unique to marina and dock installations that are required to be listed. So let me look at the public comment. That public comment is probably the Corlane Committee note, yeah. All right, so looks like they have a .2 now. Load calculations, this is interesting. 555.6, load calculations for service and feeder conductors. That should be over in, I would think that should be over in 120. Now it's 120, not 220. But I don't know. So let's lower this volume just a hair through. I wish I could. Oh, I can. No, I can't. I thought I could edit my audio, but I can't. All right, so 555.6, it says load calculations for service and feeder conductors, general lighting, and other loads have to be calculated in accordance with Article 120, Part 3, so they're just pointing. The demand factors in 120.120 shall be permitted for each service. So they're saying, hey, you know what, you can follow 120.120, and oh, by the way, you've got to follow the requirements in 120 Part 3. And then there's the non-coincidental loads. They want to say, hey, you know what, you have to do that in accordance with 120.6. And the power control system is permitted to be used for load calculations in accordance with 120.7. They didn't need to do that. Let me look at the reorganize section 555.6 into a list format for usability. And it was the second revision, so there wasn't a public comment, but honestly, they could have just deleted it and it would not have mattered, because everything that they're saying in there is already required in 120 and permitted in 120. It sort of implies, whenever you do stuff like this, it sort of implies that nothing else in 120 is permitted because you are supplementing and modifying. So, I don't know. That's a nothing burger in my opinion. Brian, they moved 220 to 120. So it is now 120. That was done in the first draft. So, brother, all of those section numbers you've been memorizing, no longer valid, buddy. It's now 120. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's take a look. 555.9, engineering design. Documentation of an engineering electrical design. Yep, that's the way it goes, brother. That's the way it goes. Documentation of an engineered electrical design of the pier distribution system shall be provided upon request of the HJ, and there is one exception. An engineered design shall not be required for 1 and 2 family dwelling units if the system voltage is 240 volts AC, single phase or less. So it looks like what they're doing is they're lowering. If you have a low voltage system, you don't have to have an engineered design. Let's take a look at was there a public input? Yep, there was a public comment. Oh, the public comment was from Ryan Jackson to delete 555.9. And what they did was they let me read his substantiation. So his substantiation said that for residential, requiring an engineered design for a 20 amp branch circuit in a person's backyard seems excessive. So they sort of, I would argue that they didn't do exactly what Ryan said, but they provided an exception to do exactly what Ryan said. It does remove the requirement if you meet the exception, and that 20 amp branch circuit going to the backyard would not need an engineered design. All right, let's take a look. Bonding of non-current carrying metal parts. This one was controversial. So if you recall, there was a desire to create an equipotential grid, and everything has to be bonded together. So there was a 555.14 that addresses that. This one just speaks to bonding of non-current carrying metal parts. And I'll tell you the example. I had a discussion. I don't know if it was with Bobby Gray. I can't remember who it was with. But we were talking about if you had a all wood pier, and let's say you put a metal ladder on that all wood pier that extended into the water. His comment, or whoever it was I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, a comment was made that by pulling a conductor out to that ladder, you've now created the possibility of energization. And that if it was not bonded, you're a bird on a wire. I have to really think about that one. If I have a ladder on a wood pier and it's isolated and it's in the water, and let's say that there's a boat that is energized, would that ladder be better off not being bonded? And that's a fair question, and I'd have to really think about that. But let's take a look at the changes that they made in 555.13 and see what did panel 7 think about something like that. So what they removed was, the previous language said all metal parts in contact with the water, all metal piping, and all non-current carrying metal parts that are likely to become energized shall be connected to one of the following. And it has the grounding bus in the panel board using solid copper conductors and not smaller than a number 8. And what they changed is they removed some words. They say now all non-current carrying metal parts that are likely to become energized. So it doesn't matter if it's in contact with the water or not. It's all inclusive. If it's metal, you are going to connect it to the branch, circuit, or feeder equipment grounding conductor by a bonding conductor not required to be larger than a number 8 copper conductor, insulated, covered, or bare. So you have to connect all metal, all non-current carrying metal parts that are likely to become energized. So you have to determine if something is likely to become energized. It says connections to bonded parts shall be made in accordance with 250.8. What was the public? Let's take a look at the public comment that drove that change. There were two public comments. Ryan Jackson just wanted to say non-current carrying metal parts, if they are likely to become energized, all metal parts and all metal piping shall be connected to one of the following. And there was a branch circuit or feeder equipment grounding conductor, and there's the grounding bus in the panel board. That was Ryan's. So they sort of did what Ryan wanted. And what was the second one? The second one was from Robert Greco. And what he wanted was he wanted to say all non-current carrying metal parts. So it looks like they did what he wanted. He wanted to add stranded copper conductors. They didn't add stranded. They kept it as solid. I get that. And the problem with the stranded, especially in an environment where things are moving, the flexing will break the strands. I think that's the concept there. And they said, and he wanted to say not smaller than a number 8, but he wanted it to be sized to the largest overcurrent device associated with the circuit feeding the dock. So that could require a larger equipment grounding conductor. So what they did, I can hide markup. It just now says all non-current carrying metal parts that are likely to become energized shall be connected to the branch circuit or feeder equipment grounding conductor. How do you do that? I guess you could do it in the panel board. You could do that in the panel board. You could do it in any of the metal boxes. There's probably multiple places you can get that done. But they're worried about bonding, so they want you to bond everything. All right, let's take a look at 555.14. This is that, remember the equipotential planes and bonding of equipotential planes. So they took this language, I think they took this language, I feel highly confident that they took this language out of 680 for swimming pools, because there's equipotential bonding there. And I remember when this went in, we had pictures of marina areas where there was actually a sliding board. And Brian says, copper naphthenate wood preservative currently being used is non-conductive, but older and nastier wood preservatives like chromate, copper, arsenic. Put that one up again. Arsenate can slightly increase the conductivity of wood. Well, that's interesting. That is very interesting. You know what I have to do is I have to go. Where's my? I'm here. Where's the comments? I have, maybe this is it. I think I have to unlock that. And I go like this, and I have to take off the, I want it to stay there until I shut it off. It keeps going away, and I don't like that. Text box shrink. There's the style. Let me go to edit. Text box. Background, effect, shadow, cancel. I don't know. Don't forget to subscribe. What's that? Oh. There is a man a day. Ooh, what's that? Hey, look at that. I got a subscribe button. Anyway, all right. So I don't think I can change the timing on that, because some of those longer ones I want open longer, and I cannot remember where that is. So anyway, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to lock it. All right, guys. All right, so let's get back to this. Sorry about that. I went on a little divergent. Back to live mode. Publish. There we go. All right, so 555.14, equipotential planes and bonding. All they did here was they, in the parent text, they just got rid of where, the, and just replaced with the system voltage exceeds. So if the following conditions exist. So they just reworded the parent text, make it easier. Now in A, equipotential plane construction, it says the equipotential planes have to encompass the area around the outdoor service equipment of or disconnecting means. So equipotential planes shall encompass the area around outdoor service equipment or disconnecting means and extend from the area directly below the equipotential equipment out not less than 36 inches in all directions. All right. So that's all they did was added or disconnecting means. So what that means is you can have your surface equipment, and if you go to another enclosure where there's a disconnect in there, that enclosure would also have an equipotential plane and bonding of the equipotential planes. It says bonding to equipotential planes shall be provided as specified in 14A1 through A4. And A1 is your structural reinforced steel, 2 is your copper grid, 2 is copper grid. There's no 3, and there's no 3 and 4. It says 555.14A1 through 555.14A4, but they're only showing 2. So I'm not seeing. Maybe they haven't finished the. Maybe they haven't finished the language because there's no 4. There's no 3 and there's no 4. I'm gonna look at the public comment. It was Ryan Jackson who put some comments. He was the one who put the disconnecting means, and he said that he says the language in A is written applies only to the service equipment. The charging language of 555.14 and the language in 14B both refer to other disconnecting means, but the language in A does not. So he added that. So he was trying to be consistent. All right, so I would say it's probably not technically a change because B covers areas not required. Areas are not required. Equipotential planes shall not be required for the control utilization equipment by the service equipment or disconnecting means. So in reference, in B it says or disconnecting means, and in the parent text it says or disconnecting means, but A did not have or disconnecting means. So it is a little bit of an expansion, but fills the gap. I get it. All right. 555.15 servicing and replacement of equipment. I thought I put a public comment in here. No, Siemens did. Vincent Delacroix. Servicing or replacement of equipment shall be done, and he removed electrical enclosures, devices, and wiring methods, so he removed the laundry list. In reality, it's more frequently that adjacent systems with the degraded neutrals are the source of stray currents and return currents. Yeah, I would agree with you. Brian. I do not disagree. All right, so now we're scrolling down into 555.33. It says AC only receptacles, and A is shore power receptacles. Now remember, when we say shore power, that is a receptacle that's meant for power, taking power to a vessel, boat. It needs strain. The A1 talks about enclosure requirements. 2 is strain relief. 3 is branch circuits. 4 is ratings. And then B is, and they didn't make any changes there, B is other than shore power. So these are the receptacles that do not supply the boat, but they're for probably general use. It says if shore power is installed to boats, other than shore power. If shore power is installed to boats, to boats. It doesn't make sense. Installed to a boat. If it's installed to boats, a 120 volt AC 15 or 20 amp GFCI receptacle shall be installed. I think what they mean is if shore power is provided for delivering power to a boat, then you need a 15 or 20 amp GFCI receptacle. They wrote that sentence very poorly. Well, this was a committee public comment. This revision adds to reduce the likelihood of using an adapter that would promote connection without proper GFCI protection. So if shore power is installed, I don't like the way it says is installed to boats. That doesn't make sense. But we're not English majors in some cases, so it is what it is. So that's in B. So they're basically saying, look, if you have shore power at that location, you're going to need a GFCI. It doesn't even say at that location. It says if shore power is installed to boats, 120 volt AC, 15 and 20 amp GFCI receptacles shall be installed. It doesn't say it has to be within proximity of the shore power. I can say, look, I have a 120 volt receptacle somewhere else down on the pier. It's just not written well. Wow. Wow. I should have been sitting in that meeting. All right, let's go down further. 555.35. This is the GFCI, ground fault protection of equipment and GFCIs. Let's see what they did here. This is always fun. So remember, the charging language says that ground fault protection of equipment serving docking facilities and piers shall be provided in accordance with A through E. That's not right. Hold on. A through E. I guess this is all ground fault protection of equipment. There's no GFCIs there. No, there is GFCIs. That should say, oh man. Oh my gosh. So what the parent text should say is ground fault protection of equipment serving docking facilities and piers shall be provided in accordance with 555.35A B1 and that's it. And then it should say GFCI, ground fault protection for personnel, shall be provided. So, or just say GFPE. Man, Brian, man, shore power is already defined in Article 100. It is already defined, but the way they used it, Brian, if shore power is installed to boats. I guess I'd have to read the definition. You're probably right that shore power, the electrical equipment required to power a floating vessel, including but not limited to the receptacle and cords. Yeah, they should have just said if shore power is provided, comma, 120 volt AC and 15 or 20 amp GFCI receptacles shall also be installed at that location. That would have made sense. It would have made more sense than this. Thanks, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Look at that. We agree on some things, don't we? On many things. But what do you think about this other language, Brian? 555.35, if you read the parent text, I wonder if it's this way in Terra. Let me look in Terra. NFPA link. Pull up NFPA link and take a look at NFPA 555.35. And NFPA link is slow. Okay, here we go. I'm going to look at the 2023 edition of NFPA Link. Man, I should have sat in that meeting. Or I could have texted. I could have said, hey, no, fix it this way. 555. Oh, Brian. You know what we need to do, Brian? We need to get like a session together and make public inputs for next cycle. 555.35 says in Terra, and it's wrong too. No, it is right. Oh man, look at this. Oh man, this is a great teaching moment. This is a great teaching moment. So look what this says. It says for other than floating buildings, ground fault protection for docking facilities shall be provided in accordance with 555.35A through D. So that is beautiful. But look what they did. They changed in the first draft, ground fault protection of equipment serving docking facilities and piers shall be provided in accordance with 555. So they changed it to a way that it just addresses GFPE. The previous language was ground fault protection. I'd have to go back. Let's take a look at the first draft. How did I should have put a public comment in for that. 555. This is me sleeping on the wheel. We didn't go through this the way we should have. We screwed up. 555.35. Yeah. Look, it was in the first draft. Ground fault protection of equipment serving docking facilities and piers shall be provided in accordance with A through E. And that, my friends, that was first revision 9038. That's not right. That is ungood. Take a look, and you all can see the first revision results. Take a look at 555.35. It's FR 9038, and that is bad code. It's bad code. I bet you we could fix it in the correlating committee. A TIA. Ah, yes. We can. I bet you, Brian, we could do a TIA and fix this, and it'll be a part of. I gotta take a note. Gotta take a note. This is what you wrote. Let me take a note. Tommy, let me take a note. I have a note started for imagine a world where no one died from electricity. NEC 2026. There's my notes. See, I had it as day 1, and I was supposed to do a day 2 and a day 3, and I didn't do that. You don't do? I'm going to open up my Word document. I have a Word document where I am making notes. NEC 2026 second draft. I'm going to open this puppy up. I wish I had another monitor, but I don't. And I'm going to put in here, I'm going to say possible issues. Not possible. This is an issue. 555.35 parent text now just references GFPE and not GFCI. And the reason that's bad, the reason that is ungood, is you could say, look, the parent text says, save. The parent text says, ground fault protection of equipment shall be provided in accordance with 555.35A through E, not GFCIs. So I highly doubt it would not be enforced the correct way, but what we don't want is to have a problem. All right, so that's an issue, but we can work with that. And so what they said was in A, they made changes in A. Oh, look at this. Feeders and branch circuits. There was an exception for feeders for fire pumps. Shall be permitted without disconnecting power to the fire pump. It looks like they're confusing shore power versus other than shore power, convenience for power ducts and tolls, GFPE for equipment protection versus GFCI. Yeah, so what they did, so Brian, what they did in 555.35, which I think is actually good, in my opinion, they provided tiers. And what they said for feeders and branch circuits are at 100 milliamps, and that's GFPE. Anything that is other than shore power, the receptacles have to be GFCI protected. If it's a shore power branch, it says outlets. It says receptacles providing shore power should be at 30 milliamps. Outlets other than shore power have to be GFCI protection, and they get that they use the 60 amps and the 100 amps. They have boat hoists are on GFCI, and then they have a leakage current measurement device in there. So it's a tiered effect of providing protection. What they restructured in B is so they have A as feeders and branch circuits. Now they have B, fire pump circuits. Fire pumps have to use ground fault monitoring in accordance with the following. They have a ground fault monitoring alarm. Also, a feeder inherently has no outlets. A branch would have outlets. Yes. You're right. You're right. You're right. Feeders for fire pumps shall be permitted without disconnect. So B is fire pump circuits. They are requiring, they're requiring that these circuits use ground fault monitoring, where the ground fault monitoring alarm shall notify upon ground faults exceeding 100 milliamps. The alarm has to be audible and visual, and that's existing language. And they added an informational note to C695.7G, which prohibits GFPE in any fire pump power circuit. The wiring of a fire. Oh, so they aligned that with 695. So that's what they're doing in A. I'm sorry, they created a B. All right, we're moving down to 555.52, installation of services and feeders. They just removed some words, to be installed. It says, what it says is location shall be permitted where flexibility is not required, and they removed the words to be installed, permitted to be installed. And then in 555.53, ground fault protection, they removed overcurrent protective device, the term, and they just used the acronym, the main overcurrent protective device. In road, we call this a one-car funeral. Oh my God! Brian, you're funny, buddy. You're funny. Oh my goodness. All right, and I think that was it for 555. So the one-car funeral is all screwed up. Well, it looks like there are some good changes in there. They didn't make any major changes, but we do have to address some items. How about how those guys also do? They also handle what do they call that? RV parks, right? That's a chapter. That is, I believe, Hey, Steve. Steve's in the house. Is that a similar exception for fire alarm system circuits as for fire pumps? Yeah, there is an exception on fire. What it says on fire alarm systems. I'll tell you what it says on fire alarm systems. Hold on. Fire alarm. Is that a chapter 7? Fire alarms. Where's it at? There it is. 760. Here's what it says in 760. Oh boy, a lot of changes in 760. Let's look for GFCI. It's fun to stay at the GFCI. I like to stay at the, where is it? Hazardous cables, power source. Oh my. Where was the GFCI? What section was it, guys? Overcurrent protection. All right. Oh boy, I gotta make this bigger. I thought this was gonna be easy, but it's not. Yeah, 760, what's the section for GFCIs? Because here's what I thought. I thought it said that it's not, I thought it said it was permitted to have GFCIs. Or maybe it says you're not permitted, and I can't find it. Let me go back to I'll go back to NFPA link. Jeez, oh man. I can't make NFPA link smaller. Let me refresh it. I thought you're probably right. I don't have the section number in front of me, but I'm going to continue on with Terra. I'm going to go on to Terra, and we're going to go back to, what I wanted to look at was, what section, guys, is, there it is, 550. 550 is mobile homes, recreational vehicles and parks, 551. Well, we can look at ag buildings, too. 551 voltage converter. They have in combination electrical systems, vehicle wiring. They have voltage converter size. To determine the voltage converter size, the following percentages. So they have a voltage converter size. That's not a big deal. I'm getting. Oh wait, there we go. 760.41b. Let me look in chapter, geez, oh man. 760.41b. So if I go to chapter 7, for some reason, I gotta close TerraView. 760.47. I'm sorry, NFPA link. 760.41b. I'm gonna just search for 760. Let me move my mouse over there. 760.41. There it is. B, branch circuits. The location of the branch circuit. This branch circuit shall not be supplied through ground fault circuit interrupters or arc fault circuit interrupters. So yeah, there's a prohibition, and there was very similar, Steve, to that. All right, 551, other sources. General requirements, they split 551.32 into two first-level subdivisions. General requirements, and then B, labeling of inverters. If an inverter or inverter charger is provided, a safety label complying with 110.21b with the signal word warning in that has to be 1/4 of an inch high, and the body text has to be a minimum of 1/8 of an inch high, with a contrasting backgrounds, has to be affixed at the panel board and at the entry of the feeder assembly to the vehicle. And it has to say, this electrical system is equipped with an inverter or inverter charger. Disconnect all AC and DC power to the inverter or inverter charger before performing any service to the electrical system. Failure to do so can result in shock, causing serious injury or death. So they have a sign. Signs, everywhere are signs. Okay, we're moving on. 551.40, this is your 120 volt to 120, this is in part 4, nominal 120 volt or 122 40 volt systems. And 551.40 has the exact same title. Anyway, they in D, ground monitor interrupter. Recreational vehicles with 30 or 50 amps feeder assemblies have to have a listed Type 2 grounding monitor. The panel board, if not provided with a transfer switch ahead of the panel board. It says, and before, so it says, okay, recreational vehicles with a 30 or 50 amp feeder assembly, they have to have a Type 2 grounding monitor interrupter permanently installed. And that has to be between the feeder assembly connection to the vehicle and before either of the following. And they give you two, before either the panel board, if it doesn't have a transfer switch ahead of the panel board, or the transfer switch that is ahead of the panel board, if it's provided. There's one exception. It's not necessary to provide that. It's permitted to be integral to the utility supply side of the transfer switch or panel board. So, and then there's a reference to UL 2299, the outline investigation for ground monitor interrupters. Gotta love that stuff. Panel board, 551.45 was hide markup. A is location, B is now dead front. So they deleted the parent text listed. Oh, because the listing requirement's probably up. Well, is the listing in .2? No, there's no listing in .2. And .3 is supposed to be reserved for reconditioned equipment, and they didn't do that. They just said, you know what, Mr. Style Manual? Ain't gonna happen. They said listed and appropriately rated. Panel boards have to be listed and appropriately rated. They removed that. Or did they? Let me hide markup. Location. The panel board has to be installed in a readily accessible location with the RV in the setup mode. Working clearances. They have an exception 1 and 2, and they have a dead front type. The panel board has to be of a dead front type. A main disconnecting means. So let's look at what were they thinking? Here's what the panel says. This was a committee second revision. Listing requirements have been moved to .2 in compliance. So there's going to be a .2. They just don't have it up there yet. The grounding terminal bar requirements are redundant with the grounding sections of the article. Okay, so they just cleaned it up. Piece of cake, Brian. Piece of cake. And like I say, this is all fluid. All of this stuff has to get loaded into Terra and all that stuff. So we just know that there's a change in that section. Let's keep going down. Let's see any other major changes. No, I think it all looks good. Let's go to, I don't know where I'm getting these notifications, reminders on things I'm supposed to do. It's the way it goes, Brian. All right, so what else is good to talk about? 7 is done. Let's take a look at the schedule. You want to know what the schedule is? Let me show you something. Let's take a look. Second draft. Here's the schedule. All right, so this week, this is what's going on this week. 7 is done. 9 is done. 16 is done. So 5 and 13 are the only two going on right now. Thursday, which is tomorrow, panel 10, I am on panel 10. We will be meeting. So look how many panels. They got 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels met in the beginning of the week, but now 1, 2, 3, 4 panels are meeting at the end of the week. And that's 15, which is healthcare. 6, which is your conductors, your chapter 3. 10 is your overcurrent protection, over voltage protection. And 17, which is, I believe 17 is appliances and swimming pools and all that jazz. And you can find out what panels are what if you go to the top. Go to the top, my friend. Go to technical committees, and you go to committee scope and responsibility. There we go. Panel 18. We said 17 was 422. Yeah, 680 is in there too. 17 is meeting. We said 10. We said 15. There's panel 15. That's your 517. Whoa, cancel. Sorry. I'm going to hit cancel. Use without internet. Jeez. All right. Well, that's what that is. All right, so that's the lineup, and it's been a pretty powerful week. There's a lot of changes going on. I think I heard somebody make a statement a while ago that, boy, the NEC 2026 code changes is not going to be that wild, and really, it is going to be wild. There are a lot of changes going on. They're moving things around. We got new articles in the beginning. We got 120. We have in the early chapters. Oh, I can't expand because I'm not on the network anymore. But in any case, we have a lot of. I should be able to tie into this, right? Yeah. Wi-Fi. Let me do Eagle One. Eagle One Kenobi. CAM equals certified amending motion. That is correct. Certified amending motion. That's a whole part of the process there, Brian, huh? So in chapter 1, we used to have article 100 and 110. 110 were your general requirements. Now we have 120, branch circuit feeder and service load calculations. We have 130 for energy management systems. 90 is still 90. At chapter 2, we have 245, which is your overcurrent protection for systems rated over 1,000 volts. We have 265 for branch circuits over 1,000 volts. We have 266 for feeders over 1,000 volts. We have 267 for outside branch circuits and feeders over 1,000 volts. And we have 268 for services over 1,000 volts. So they broke out the 235 article into multiple articles. So we have 265, 266, 267, and 268. And then 270 is grounding and bonding of systems over 1,000 volts. Uh-oh. NITMAM, notice of intent to make a motion. NTSIR, notice of intent to subject us to inordinate responses. NITWIT, notice of intent to waste inestimable time. Oh, Brian, you never disappoint, brother. You never disappoint. Branch circuits over 1,000 volts. What did they do? Oh, man. They've got some changes. They got rating. They got conductors. Well, let's look at overcurrent. Where's it at? Overcurrent 245. They made a listing requirement change. Here we go. You ready for this, Brianski? 245. I was trying to avoid the yawn and I couldn't. 245.2. This is listing requirements. This is medium voltage. It's over 1,000 volts AC, 1,500 volts DC. Overcurrent protected devices not rated over 15,000 volts. Overcurrent protection for systems not rated over 15,000 volts AC or DC have to be listed, and the listing requirements are effective January 1st, 2029. And it says the exception, there's an exception, overcurrent protection that is integral to a listed assembly shall not be required to be individually tested. Yeah, Brian, I tell you what, I woke up at 3 o'clock. I went to bed. I even went to bed late. I went to bed at like 10:30, almost 11, which is like, that's the time I go to bed at home. And whenever I'm at home, I go to bed at 10 o'clock and I get up around 6, 5:30, something like that. But I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, 3:30. I was 3. I was exhausted. And then I did fall back to sleep for a little bit, not much. But I was wide awake. Now watch, when I go home, I'm going to have a hard time. Anyway. Overcurrent protection, if it's not over 15,000 volts, it has to be listed. But it says overcurrent protection that is integral to a listed assembly. What does that mean? Integral to a listed assembly. Overcurrent protection that is integral to a listed assembly is not required to be individually listed. I don't know what that means. I really do not know. Overcurrent protection that is integral to a listed assembly is not required to be individually listed. Does that mean a circuit breaker? And what does integral to a listed assembly mean? Does that mean that that has to be bolted, if it's bolted in place and it's not able to be removed? And then B is overcurrent protection devices rated over 15,000 volts have to be listed, but they have that date at 2032, it looks like. I'm the only part of this I'm confused about is overcurrent protection that is integral to a listed assembly. 245.3 reconditioned. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is where it's at, Brian, right here. The installation of the following reconditioned equipment shall be permitted: medium and high voltage circuit breakers, electromechanical protective relays, and current transformers. In other words, it's already been evaluated as part of the end product. Brian, I think you're right. I think you're right. That might be, I would buy that. I would buy that. I'm buying what you're selling there, buddy. But what about this one? Reconditioned equipment. The installation of the following reconditioned equipment shall be permitted: medium and high voltage circuit breakers, electromechanical protective relay, and current transformers. Versus a recognized component. Yeah, I think you might be right. I agree with you, Rabbit. We're gonna look for Rocky in the city. So the installation of a medium, the installation of a reconditioned medium voltage circuit breaker is permitted. The installation, so that means, so what happens if I have a medium voltage breaker and I fix it in place? I don't take it out. And it says not permitted to be installed. So you have permitted to be installed and not permitted to be installed. The installation of the following reconditioned equipment shall not be permitted: medium and high voltage fuse holders, medium and high voltage non-renewable fuses. So if you can so does that mean you can recondition them in place? Just don't take them out. So you're permitted now to recondition medium and high voltage breakers as long as you don't remove them, because you would not be permitted to reinstall them. All right. Cutouts shall be located so that they are accessible to the operated and refused. Clearances, those are the big changes, I think. Those are the big changes in 245. We're going to have a good discussion on panel 10 tomorrow. So I've got to prep for that. So I'm going to be reading all of our reports and all of the task group reports on recommended changes. And I've got to make sure that I have all of my positions. So that's all I have today. I am going to go back downstairs and I'm going to sit in. Bam. But if it's factory assembled and listed, how do you do the fingers? How do you do the little hands on a listed panel board? I don't think they've thought that one all the way through. Brian, I agree with you 100%, buddy. I knew you would get to that point. I knew you would. I had longer time to look at it and read it. I knew you would get to that point. Oh my goodness. But you know what? Such is life, right? If it was perfect, Brian, we'd be out of a job. Well, actually, you are out of a job. I mean, you are living high off the hog, relaxing in your retirement, enjoying life, and all of that. I hope everybody is well, and it's good to see you online, my friend. Maybe one day we'll have to go live and chat together. Here we go. i.e. listed breakers provided on a listed panel board. Yeah, so if I have a listed breaker and it's on the enclosure that says that you can install this in there and they've been tested together, then I don't have to list the breakers. I think that I could probably make that argument. I don't know if I would win with an AHJ, but I could argue that every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to go. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I wish I would have gone a little bit earlier, but I got up a little later because I was trying to fall back to sleep again, and I couldn't. And then I had conference calls. So I've been on conference calls all morning. It is 9:30 California time. 10:30, 11:30. It's 12:30 your time. Hopefully you're enjoying your lunch. I am going to go down. I haven't even had a cup of coffee yet, but I'm going to go downstairs, grab a cup of Java, and then I'm going to head over to, I think, panel 13. I'm going to go watch Kevin Arnold in action and Dan Neeser. I'm going to go catch panel 13. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thanks for what you do for the electrical industry. Remember to stay safe and please, whatever, by all means, stay healthy. Thanks.